Hello and welcome to another Budget Model Railways video and another review of a Metcalfe kit. A little bit of a first for us this, because I believe we're the first people in the UK to get our hands on one of these. Metcalfe very kindly provided me this for review, but that won't have any impact on what I've got to say about it. So if we get the details out of the way first, this is PN915. This is the N scale little Cardleywick Station. It will also be available PO315 in 00, both late October is due. £12 for the N gauge one and £15.50 for the 00. Very good value when you see what you're going to get for this. Always worth shopping around and knowing those prices. My experience of a lot of new stuff on eBay at the moment is even some retailers will gouge that price up quite a bit. So be careful when you're buying online. £12, £15.50 is the RRP, obviously plus a reasonable amount for postage. I was really excited. I got an email from a marketing email from Metcalfe. Yes, some of us do look at our marketing emails that come in. And they said they were going to do a little station. Now, if I had one, it's not really a criticism. Metcalfe models are very, very true to scale, particularly in 00. So, for instance, Super Quick are really much nearer HO and originally were marketed as HO 00. Metcalfe are very true to scale, but that can make them quite big, and it means you do have to sometimes factor in getting them onto a layout. So when I saw that they were deliberately doing some smaller buildings, this is going to be part of a range, Cardleywick, very clever, little Cardleywick Station. And as it says, a small space-saving station with all the features of a larger station, but with a small footprint. Now, it's worth saying that one of my favourite buildings in 00 is the Daypole waiting shelter, because it's such a fabulous little station. It's a complete little station, but it's compact. And here we go. Metcalfe have done that now. As you know, I'm a big N fan. This is absolutely great. It's 109mm by 57mm, so it really doesn't take any room, but does look like a full-blown station. Now, what you also get with this, and I'll come onto the building in a minute, please stick with me, I'm going to cover quite a bit. They even thought to put a little ramp in, so that if you've mounted this on one of their station kits, platform kits, you've got a ramp. And I think that's really something. I've not seen that done on stations before. And that makes it a really good little addition. So what can we say about Metcalfe? Well, what I'll do is I'll go through the instructions a bit and talk a little bit about building this. I want to get one of the elephants in the room out the way first. I find it inconceivable, really, that I still get people saying to me, oh, no, I'm not going to do Metcalfe because of the white edges. These, of course, are the same people who don't accept that modern points switch power, or in one case, somebody I met who was still double declutching his car, something you haven't needed to do for about 70 years. So I do get a little worn out with it. Metcalfe have recognised this a long time ago. It actually says in the instructions to use a little bit of paint on the edges. Personally, I use a pencil when it's grey, or watercolour paints when it's a different colour. No white edges. So if you are one of these people that are going, oh no, I'm never going to use Metcalfe because of all the white edges, I'm sorry, but you're decades out of date. So that's that one out of the way, and I'll deal with another one at the end of the video, something I occasionally hear said about Metcalfe. Now, this, I think these kits are ideal. I think they're particularly good for, I've just knocked, this is how fresh this build is. I've just glued those on and they're not quite dry. I think Metcalfe kits are brilliant for everybody, but particularly beginners. And I've spoken to people who've said, oh no, I've got no craft skills. I couldn't possibly build a building like that. Right, I've got arthritic fingers and I've managed to build that. Anybody, if you've never built a model, this is why, again, I've just caught my chimney pots again. This is why I'm saying, if you've never built a model, you can build one of these, because it comes with the most comprehensive set of instructions. It's not a written description like some, it's a photograph. Now, you do need to take your time. You definitely need to read. This isn't a speed read thing. This is a look at what you're going to do, follow the instructions, and then it's no difficulty at all. You start, for instance, by putting your plastic on, your windows on. Just follow the instructions. They are superb. So if you're one of these people that said, oh, you know, I could never make a Metcalfe kit or a building kit, you absolutely can with these because the instructions are so good. Now, I'm also a big fan of plastic buildings, but one big advantage of these is that that's all you need to make them. Okay, I've sat this afternoon, I've been clearing my shed, so everything's tidied away. So I could only get to a basic toolkit. So I thought, you know, let's see what happens. That is all I used to make that. Okay, scissors, craft knife, ruler, pencil, PVA glue, and I use that to make the chimneys. You do need an applicator. Metcalfe makes some very good ones, and you can also get them from a lot of craft shops. It's just too fiddly without it. I use PVA from Screwfix, but you do need a nice PVA. I'm not sure you need some of the PVA that's more expensive than gold when you work out how much it is for a tiny little pot. I buy the super quick PVA 5 litres at a time for about, I think it was about 15 quid the last time I bought one. So 5 quid, shall we say, you know, 3 quid or something a litre. Whereas if you're not careful, you'll pay £3 for something that size. But that's a personal choice. But you do need a good quality PVA. A cheap PVA simply won't do it. It takes too long to dry. So that's all you need, tools-wise. Really simple. And the advantage of the card kits over the plastic kits is the plastic kit, you would need 4 or 5 pots of paint to make it look good. And that's going to set you back probably the cost of the kit again. And I'm not a big fan of that in model railways. I see it quite often with wagon things where people say to me, why don't you change the couplings? Why don't you change the wheels? Because then the cost of the wagon is double. So in general, Metcalfe buildings extremely good because for your £12 and really very few tools, you're going to get this. It's a good design of building. It's compact. There's a bit of PVA there. But it's big enough that it would replicate a nice little country station. When we're talking about getting rid of the white lines, it's worth thinking, remember to do things like the edges of the coving, the edges of the canopy, a red pen through the top of the ridge tiles. Don't forget to do the edge of your ridge tiles. And little tips like that, and it will come out looking great. Do take your time with them. Do follow the instructions, and then they're really easy. Let's just look through. I did make a few notes on here, which I think I've covered most of them. Yeah, done all the edges. Now, I did think that the bay windows would be a bit fiddly, but actually they're not. If you follow the instructions, I've had trouble with these sort of things before. My only thing would be to use the edge of a ruler when you fold this, because there isn't a lot of material there, and if you try and do it with your fingers, it tends to bulge. The only thing I probably didn't get on with is this. So this is a very thoughtfully provided jig to make the chimney pots. Quite frankly, I stuck the 4 bits of card together as they were without using the jig. It's a nice idea, particularly good for people to have a go at. Personally, I find it's okay. You can just glue them together. Now, simple to follow. They've even included some nice little posters and things there, so you can personalise your station. And really, there we have it. Very simple to build. It took me 2 hours. I was able this afternoon to sit uninterrupted and knock it out in a couple of hours. I would suggest that 2 evenings, 2 comfortable evenings work sat quite nicely. And I think these are value for money in themselves because that's 2 hours of entertainment. I enjoyed sitting and building it. I do enjoy sitting and building the Metcalfe buildings. So even if I hadn't got a use for it on my railway, I'm not surprised some people just make villages out of these with no trains in them, because it is quite enjoyable just to sit for a couple of hours making that £6 an hour. That's quite good value for money, I think. I particularly like the addition of the steps. It makes it a very complete kit. And if it's also worth pointing out that you get a few leftovers. I keep these bits, especially the thicker card, because I find it really useful on other projects. And they thoughtfully give you some spare bay windows in case you make a mess of them. When you cut them through here, it only wants the very lightest scoring. But that gives me 2 spare windows to do another project. And in fact, it gives you 3. So you get 6 spare windows there. And I've done some great scratch building with Metcalfe. So that again is thoughtful. And I said a bit earlier on that I'd cover one of the other things, the criticisms I sometimes hear levelled at Metcalfe. And that's the one that, well, they're everywhere. You know, they're everywhere. It's and it's not a different model railway because it's got Metcalfe on it. I would say the opposite. I wonder how many model railways would have got built without Metcalfe. I wonder how many people were only able to build a nice little model railway that they enjoy because of Metcalfe buildings. They're cheap and they're quick and simple to build, and they look very effective. In fact, some years ago, I saw a relatively straightforward layout at an exhibition, almost entirely made from Metcalfe buildings, win best at show. So that proves how good they look. So I think, the criticism that, well, they're a bit ubiquitous. Yeah, and so what? Without them, I'm not sure how you'd have a hobby. Because for the majority of people, I wonder where the buildings would come from. I know there's other versions. I know there's Superquick out there. I know there's Daypile and all sorts of plastic buildings. But I think one of the reasons that Metcalfe are so ubiquitous is because they are effective, cheap and simple to build. I just love this little station. I'm going to make a layout just for it, to be honest. I think I might make one of my shelf challenge ones because it is just a lovely, atypical country station, and it's not going to take much room. In fact, they are going to release a station shelter. Now, you could even use that, put some doors and things on it, which I've done before, to make an even smaller station. But it also means if you've got a double platform, you'll be able to put that on the other platform. So, all in all, you can't really fault them. You can't really fault them. I suppose apart from that, which is really a tiny little flaw. It's a great little station. It's a great complete little station. I think that's going to start a lot of layouts because it's much easier to fit that into their normal station is almost twice the size. And that takes up a lot more room on a layout, even in N. That's effective and it'll look good. So there we go. Thank you very much to Metcalfe for supplying it. And I look forward to seeing people's views on it and to see what people do with it. It isn't available till, as I say, the end of October. But what I'm sure that plenty of retailers and things are probably taking orders. I'm sure Metcalfe is. And as I say, available in 00. I know 00. Well, they say 00 is I saw something the other day saying 00 is the main scale in the UK. I can tell you now that every exhibition I've been to recently has been 50% N gauge. And I think perhaps N might be seeing its time now in the UK. Makes you wonder if Hornby should have done N instead of TT. Slip that in quick. But certainly Metcalfe, everything they do in N or 00. Whatever your vice, that's going to be a great little station. Thanks for your time.